From suicide to self-evolution, meaning self-love, to success. Now, success is definitely subjective. So my definition of success, which has transformed radically over my lifetime so far, is being happy and healthy and feeling a sense of fulfillment without being at the effect of my circumstances, the external conditions and forces outside of myself, a sense of self-freedom most of the time, as much as humanly possible. And what comes of that is massive, massive abundance, prosperity, wealth. Spirituality is probably the most valuable, priceless commodity to me, is being connected to my spirit and my soul. And I have lived it over and over again. I have had more abundance and prosperity in the form of riches for many lifetimes, and yet none of it made a difference for me because underneath it, I was trapped in this deep, dark, depressing vortex of emptiness, loneliness, isolation, confusion. Had no idea what was going on. The biggest disconnect was, why are we born unhappy, work our entire lives only to die? That haunted me since I was a child. I don't know, 8, 9 years old. That is dark. That's depressing. That is bleak. That is frightening. And yet, that is my life. Whew. So success to me means that I want to continue living and going for my every dream, desire, passion, goal, endeavor, aspiration, every single little thing, no dream too large or small, I want it. Just because. Especially if I'm going to live life, there's got to be perks, rewards, bonuses. There's got to be prizes. There's got to be fun, play, excitement, wonder, adventure, exhilaration, exuberance. There's got to be this tingly, ooey gooey sense of giddiness and electricity. Living in that feeling of ecstasy organically, not drug-induced. And being addicted to materialism, it's a drug. It's the same wiring in the brain, so it counts as a drug. I've been through every one of those materialistic addictions and the addiction cycle, and it always led me to the same dark, creepy, empty place. And no thanks. So success for me is happiness and fulfillment, peace of mind and heart, and of course, health. The ability to have sound mind and body and heart, to be able to physically do the things, live the things that we love. So of course, as most people know, it's dancing for me and riding horses and riding roller coasters. That to me is success, especially coming from suicide. So to choose to live every day would be massive, massive, massive success. Now, that was most of my life. Growing up as a child and a preteen and a teenager and young adult, the death card was always right there in my hip pocket. That is not the case today, not even close. But I come from that, and it's taken me years to not have that be the case. To want to choose to live most of the time. We don't want that. It makes no sense, especially when I was born into a life of privilege. I had a lot of benefits, and growing up with parents that were very, very successful. I didn't want for anything, and I had more than I knew what to do with. But I had a broken, shattered heart. I had no self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence. I had only self-hatred and confusion. I could not understand, nor did I want to continue living in this horrible state of mind and have everything on the outside and nothing on the inside. And I mean nothing. And I overcompensated to the nth degree. I did everything I could to look perfect on the outside, which was really one freaking masquerade party. One cover-up after another, one costume after another, one mask after another of trying to hide from the pain that I didn't even realize I was in. That's what's so insidiously frightening, is I had no idea. And I just kept striving for the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, thinking that at some point, once I acquire it, once I achieve it, once I accomplish it, once I get it, or him, or the next horse, then I would automatically feel a sense of happiness and peace and fulfillment and meaning for my life. But ironically, the exact opposite happened over time. It got worse and worse and worse. The more I achieved, the more money I made, the more horses I acquired, the more properties I got in real estate, the more marriage proposals and boyfriends. It got worse. And that I call the celebrity suicide syndrome, is that no matter how much we have on the outside, it makes us actually feel emptier, lonelier, darker, more at wit's end, the futility. Ugh. And I have to talk about it because suicide is more prevalent than ever. And it continues to go up over time no matter how much technology we have, no matter how much abundance is right at our fingertips. That makes no sense. Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the U.S. There's a suicide every 12.59 seconds. There are over 1 million suicide attempts a year in the U.S. That's not even worldwide. That's just right here in our United States backyard. For every one suicide for women, there are 3 for men. And ironically, how interesting, middle-aged white men have the highest rate of suicide. Okay. So if we look at all the mass shootings, they are all done by men. This last one right here in Thousand Oaks, California, which is not that far from me, that was the case. White male, was in the Marine Corps. Okay, and this is even more frightening. He had a history of mental illness or on record, problems. The authorities knew about it, but what? Why is this still happening when there are signs? It's one thing like the Vegas shooter, there were he had no record, apparently. But this time the signs are all right there, and then he cracks and loses it. It is suicide. He committed blatant suicide, but here's the thing. He was so selfish in his suicide that he had to kill other people, and then college night at Borderline Bar and Grill in Thousand Oaks, California, and he takes down people who are just beginning their whole life. Very telling. I'm not going to get into it because it's deep, psychological, it all tracks, makes complete sense. But now we're talking not mass shooting It's a freaking mass suicide in terms of he took everyone down with himself. The one thing I know is what saved me and my life was understanding why I felt so empty and alone and dark and depressed. Why I had these feelings of futility and there's no point. No matter how much I had on the outside, it didn't make a difference. So it wasn't getting more stuff, obviously. It was understanding why the stuff didn't help me at all and made things worse. You see, that's the part where we don't really look at, we don't understand, because I didn't understand it. And not one therapist since childhood could help me. They were not giving me the answers. I don't want to talk down about the therapy, but in my own personal experience, it didn't help me to get the answers to make me still want to live. And so to have a suicide attempt in 2008, 2 years after, about 2.5 years after my sister died of slow suicide, killing herself slowly, tragically, over years with drugs, alcohol, eating disorders, to cover the pain of incest and sexual abuse. That is slow suicide. That's still suicide to me. And here I was, not that far from it, understanding the darkness, shedding light on the darkness, not trying to get more light. That's the thing. Don't even get me started on affirmations, positive affirmations. Oh, something good's going to happen to you. Just wait and see. Yeah, really? Okay, why isn't it happening? Over time, backed by evidence, case studies, one after another that I've done personally. My clients, I have one case study after another. Of course, I am the best, worst freaking case on the planet because I had no excuses. I didn't have poverty. I didn't have severe sexual abuse. I didn't have domestic violence. I had no good, almost justifiable excuses to want to kill myself. I had complete opposite. And the scariest part is not one therapist diagnosed my depression and my suicidal tendencies that could make a difference, that helped, that it was even talked about. That's what's so infuriating. Now, granted, it helped me survive better. Talking to a therapist, studies show it does. It does help to talk about it. But over years and decades, no thanks. I'm tired of talking about it. I want to live in the solutions, the answers, the understanding of why. People say, why did he kill himself? Why did she kill herself? Why did he go in and kill 12, 13 people, innocent people having fun, and then kill himself? The suicide bombers. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Why? Because there was no understanding and deep connection to inner self, and especially the inner child. That's what'll do it every time, all the time, is to reparent the inner child. That's what did it for me. And I didn't even get those direct answers. My God, I had to figure it out based on all the other information I had from studying, from seeking, from wanting the answers and never stopping, being so relentless. The only thing I wanted was mental health, but instead I was quote unquote mental. I had so many emotional problems. My mother will attest to it. I was very emotional. I was very erratic in my behaviors. Yes, I was a serious super overachiever, addicted to perfectionism and accomplishments to prove my worth. But with that came with a lot of mood swings and erratic behaviors that didn't track with all of my successes, my accomplishments. And so I'm here to say that the thing I believe can help every single human being, because if I can do it, anybody can do it, was to understand the deep, profound intricacies within our own minds, the subconscious mind, but most importantly, the unconscious mind. What lurks deep in there that we have covered up, buried, and don't even think matters today, all matters. And again, it goes back to that inner child and understanding what the inner child did not get, did not understand, did not be allowed to be heard, seen, to speak up, to have a voice, to be creative in their own right. We have to go back and allow that child, no matter how old we are, even if we're already a child, even if we're 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it's imperative we do this sooner than later. And by healing the inner childhood wounds, by understanding and putting all the moving parts and pieces together, it will all make sense. And it comes down to self-worth, self-love, self-respect, and having perceptions that have us believe in our self, in our talents, in our goodness, in our gifts, in our brilliance, in our genius, in our intelligence. And there's IQ and EQ. Every human being has an inner genius. I absolutely believe that. As to whether we use that genius for good or evil is a whole nother ball of wax. But if we can really get the word out there and have it be understood, and every human being has the information and the resources to have a healthy mind, body, and spirit, starting from childhood, and I mean little baby childhood, then that would make the difference. But I can only speak from my own life, my own experiences, and still being here alive in the human body, in the human form this time around. In November of 2018, when I should have been gone a long, long time ago. Whether I did it with my own hand or it was done for me in a car accident, the way I ran my life, it's surprising that I made it. Because I was so desperate to prove something, to get out there and do crazy things. And yet I'm still here. And I even tried to take my own life, and I failed at that too, but all for the best. Failure is subjective. Did I fail, or did I hugely, massively succeed? It's all a matter of perspective and perception. And if we can reframe our inner perceptions about ourselves and about life and about the world, then that would alter our emotions and feelings about ourselves, about our life, and about the world. And we could actually reprogram ourselves to be unconsciously proficient at seeing the good, living in passion and happiness, living in connection, living in relationships, living in relatability, the ability to connect with other human beings. It's imperative. Humans are herd-bound. We must be with other human beings. As a matter of fact, I hated being human as a child, and I hated other human beings because I hated myself. That is automatically projected and transferred out into the world, into other people, and then into the world. And of course, it's a train wreck, and it's an utter and pathetic mess. And my life followed suit in my own mind. And then in transforming it, well, I had to hit rock bottom, and I did. And that's what it took. I don't advise it. I'm like, don't even try to hit any bottom. If you're just at the slightest bit unhappy, depressed, or feeling a sense of meaninglessness and unfulfillment, that's it. Start there. Don't wait till the very end, waste time Don't hit rock bottom if you can at all help it. Do not do it. I'm here to help you shortcut the process, to give you what helped me by experience, backed up by objective reality. I can prove it with evidence that it works. And not only works, it's freedom. It's emotional inner freedom. And in that highest vibration and frequency, that's when magic happens. That's when we attract and magnetize everything that we want, everyone that we want, easily, effortlessly. It just shows up and comes to us. That's why I talk about the darkest stuff and then the greatest, most miraculous, magical stuff. Because, yikes, they're one and the same once you understand it and dig deep and study it and learn it. I am obsessed with this stuff. It's a burning desire within my heart and soul. I started at a very young age. I mean, I can remember as early as 1.5 years old having blatant, clear perceptions about life. And they were not good. The human brain focuses on the negative stuff. It has to for survival purposes. We have a fear mechanism that is responsible for detecting fear most of the time so that we can avoid any potential danger or threats to our life, especially death. So the human brain and the fear mechanism is set to detect negativity first and foremost, to keep us alive, breathing with a pulse. And so we must consciously understand to override this when it comes to our dreams, our desires, our passions, and living it. And not just living it, getting paid for it, making money, getting paid, whether it's currency or money or coins or fabric paper with ink on it. We get paid with gifts, with relationships, with items, materialistic stuff. That all counts as abundance and prosperity. Don't get me wrong, I love money, 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 money. And I love it, have made lots of it, want to make lots more, and I will never live my life without it. However, the big difference is it's not first or even second, and I'm not attached to it, meaning I don't use it to define myself and my self-worth and self-respect and self-love in any way, shape, or form. That money is just a tool. It is an object used in exchange for goods and services, and that's all. It can't buy happiness. It can't buy health. It can't buy anything. It can certainly make things easier, but as long as we're not attached to it and we have a profound, unconditional, loving relationship with and to money, it's always there. It'll never let us down. It will always show up, and it will show up not to make ends meet, but it'll show up in an overflow, and it will show up having more than we actually need or want. I firmly believe that because I've lived it. And I never really thought it was anything, but it has always been a thing for me. In terms of it's always been there for me. And yet my perceptions were it didn't matter and it wasn't there for me. And I was able to reframe those perceptions. So the love for money is healthy. The attachment to money is not. To use it as a substitute for happiness, it is not sustainable. It won't work. And at the end of the day, it is the gravest disappointment ever. Because in death, you can't even take it with you. And the best, brightest, biggest example of this is Steve Jobs. His life, tragedy, so freaking tragic. He had more money than God, but to die at 56 years old from poor health, poor, destitute health, makes no logical sense. But it's because the money couldn't buy him life or living life longer. So be very, very careful there. And I bring that up to say that when we understand ourselves, it elevates the vibrational frequency that is unconscious, that is sent out, and that's what ends up having us magnetize and attract everyone and everything that we desire most. Romance, relationships, jobs, careers, purpose, legacy. Oh my gosh. Animals, pets, horses, jewelry, real estate, artwork. Oh my gosh, shoes. I have a shoe fetish. Okay, shoes. Love shoes. It doesn't matter. Everything, things from holistic healing methods, you name it, it just can show up. And I know that sounds like woo, 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 woo. Yeah, I live in woo, woo. I live in magic because I can, and I believe it. I believe in magic. And I've lived it over and over again, from one horse after another, from one boyfriend after another, and relationship after another, and career opportunity and purpose. It is all just shown up. I've one example after another that it's almost truly unbelievable, and yet it's believable because it's still right here. I live it. I experience it. I feed them. My top 3 horses that I manifested from nothing are with me today. And I can go on, and I will over time, to help anyone who's interested in learning from what I've been able to do, experience, live, track, and then provide as hardcore proof. I'm here to offer all of my secrets, all of the examples, the steps, the formulas, the blueprints, whatever you want to call them. That's what I'm planning to do and setting out to do with my brand new app coming. And it's should be done in the next week. Not done, but the first round of it to be available so that you can have access to all the great stuff easily. And that is a thing that I've manifested from nothing. I will talk about that in a separate podcast. I just want to stick with why it's so priceless and vitally important and imperative to understand the darkness from within first, and that will give us lifelong, sustainable light and magnetism to create and attract that which we desire most, are most passionate about, easily, effortlessly, and quickly. That's the thing. There are many, many things, numerous, unlimited things that I have created and manifested, but a lot of them took a long time. And I'm thinking, and then some took very little time. And I finally went back and figured out the formula as to why things take longer and why things don't. And I'm putting that all together in my little program that's going to be on my app. And I figured out the formula and it works. But again, there are prerequisites here. You have to be willing to dig deep into your childhood and heal those childhood wounds. You have to be open. You have to believe in magic, or at least kind of believe in magic and miracles. And you must be willing to learn and put in the effort to learn things, but everything that shows up is virtually effortless. Those are the quick prerequisites to live a life of miracles and magic, dreams come true, living passionately, living your passions with no excuses, none, and without being at the effect of circumstances. The top big excuses for people not going for their lives and their dreams come true are money and time, time and money. Excuse, excuse, excuse. And so if this all resonates, then it is here at your fingertips, and you don't have to wait a long time. It can happen quickly and happily and freely with a lot of fun and excitement and playfulness. And the key to that is to not have it seem like a burden or work, but to focus on the fun, the excitement, and the exhilaration of it. Keep your eye on the prize. And you want to represence the prizes over and over again, but again, no attachments to it. Always living in the feel good, organically, naturally, and we can never ever lose, because whether it shows up or not, or we change our minds even, we don't want it anymore, all along the journey, we're feeling happy and healthy, and life is meaningful and fulfilling most of the time. We're living in those feelings. But again, I will remind you, those are the feelings that bring all the magic, that attract and magnetize all the magic. So with that, thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to get in touch with me, KarenLoveLee at Gmail. I'd love to hear from you. Comments, feedback, things you would like me to address. That would be wonderful. I'm here to help in all ways that I have through my own experiences that I can and have the ability to do for all of you. And the reason why I would want to do this is because I believe in the power of sharing our gifts and our talents, our experiences to help the next human. And it is a pay it forward, but at the very least, it's freaking amazing karma. It feeds into our spiritual bank, and that's what I'm about. Spiritual banking. Spiritual connection, deep, profound connection to spirit is it for me. And that's what is my driving force in life, because I believe so profoundly in the soul and the spirit. And that just circles back, and then it creates this consistent cycle of magnificence. And so that's why I do it. And so far, so great. So far, so terrific. And I'm wishing you all of you, profound, effortless magic and happiness and fun and freedom and laughter and dancing, whatever it is for you, dance in the euphoric ecstasy, if you will, because it is the best freaking thing on the planet. # heaven on earth. Thank you all, and until next time, may you become a magic magnet.